This episode is brought to you by Audible. Romance has always evolved with us, from drawing rooms and longing glances to spells, swords, and spicy banter. In today's world, love stories are bigger, bolder, and more diverse than ever before. From Regency dramas to modern rom-coms and the rise of romantasy, we're diving into the many ways romance is showing up and showing off in our lives right now. Welcome to Off the Shelf with Morgann Book, where we're talking all things romance in every era. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who I've wanted to meet and wanted to talk to ever since I finished Promise Me Sunshine. She is a romance author we all know and love, and an Audible Originals author. Cara Bastone, welcome to Off the Shelf.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course. So the other day, I took a sneak peek at your Instagram bio, and it reads Dial Press author, Audible's original author, book reader, and fruit eater, which I kind of love. And I'm wondering if you could only eat 3 fruits for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Oh God, I'm pretty basic here.
That's okay.
I'm apples, bananas, and oranges. And I think I eat all 3 of those every single day of my life.
We're kind of on par because I was thinking about this in the car ride here. I would do strawberries, apples, and bananas.
Yeah.
Because they just go with everything.
And it's smoothie fruit. It's versatile. You can put it in a bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I love fruit as well, so I felt like we were on the same wavelength there.
Every time someone reminds me of my bio, I'm like, you should probably get around to changing the fruit eater part of it. It's so weird.
I think so it's been like that for a while
Yeah,
now?
I think it was when I was very first becoming an author, I kind of had to put something on there that didn't feel impostorish. Right?
Fair,
because I was like, okay, I guess I write books now. Oh my God. And so I was like, well, what's a true thing about me? Well, I definitely eat fruit. I think it was probably the very first thing that went on there.
I think it should stay. I'm going to go on the record and say that. Now, when did you know you wanted to be a romance writer?
Well, a romance writer specifically was later down the line, but I wanted to be a writer, honestly, before I could even read or write. My inner world is made up stories, really. I discovered romance when I was about 14. We had just moved my grandparents into a nursing home, and a bunch of my grandmother's things came to our house, including a grocery bag of the 50-cent Harlequins.
The old mass marked paperbacks.
Totally. Even and they're super thin. You'd get them at the pharmacy.
Yeah,
you turn
with
the
shirtless
turnstile.
men on the covers and
yeah,
everything.
Exactly. And the rest is history. I loved the dependability of them, and it was the first type of writing that I ever realized there was a formula and tried to figure it out. And then after that, romance really opened the door from going from being a reader to being a writer, because I could figure out how the romance writers were doing it, and then I was able to figure out how lots of writers do it, and the interest and the affection for it has never waned.
So when did you take that first step to be like, okay, I'm going to start writing a book?
I wrote some really bad books, they're wonderful, darling, charming pieces of not literature, but, from even age 12 on. But the very first romance I ever wrote, actually, this is all coming back to me right now. I was supposed to be studying organic chemistry in my second year of college, I think, and I was writing a romance novel instead. And just I think it was born of boredom. I want to do literally anything but this. But then it was oh no, this is actually the thing I want to be doing more than it. It became nothing to do with boredom after that. It just became the thing that electrified me after that.
So if you were taking organic chemistry, what was your degree in?
Oh God, who even knows? Honestly, I got almost all the way through an econ degree.
Oh,
because
okay.
I was like, this is practical. People become economists, which they don't. It's no, that's not a real job. Just like a romance writer is not a real job. So I was finally if I'm not going to have a real job anyways, maybe I should lean into the thing that gives me life, right? And so then right at the end of school, I pivoted and graduated with a creative writing degree.
Wow. Now I was on your Instagram a lot before this episode, and I saw a post from over 250 weeks ago, and you were talking about your first novel. You were talking about you were praising this blinking cursor, and how there was a scene you couldn't get out of your head, and the best way to do that was to start that first chapter. So what was that scene?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, that would have been in my very first book that I sold. So I was a ghostwriter for a really long time, but that was the first book I wrote under my own name, and that went to Harlequin. It was my first thing, and that I remember that scene. Yeah, it was. It's a book about grief, also like Promise Me Sunshine, but it's from a I would say done with a lighter touch, and it was two people sitting. He's very, very ill, fever, the fever dream scene. And she's taking care of him. It's when their relationship turns. And because he's like so feverish, she's able to talk about his sadness then. And that's when, through him talking about his sadness, she gets to see the softer side of him. And that's when he thinks he's being weak. She thinks he's being vulnerable. And they find each other in the middle of that moment. And that, to me, like the scene came fully formed, like a snow globe. Like you look in a snow globe and there's a moment in there. It's not a 2D thing, and you can turn it over. You can create a storm. You can turn it to the other side. You can see the whole thing. And so the story was born from that one scene, and I didn't want to sell it. I was still a ghostwriter, and I had interest from my clients that wanted that book, and I wrote it and was like, oh, but I can't sell it. And I didn't.
So then how did you go from being a ghostwriter to like publishing that book then? Like, what is the intricacies of like that change?
Well, I was both for a long time. Being a ghostwriter was definitely what was my bread and butter.
Gotcha. So you still continued ghostwriting as you had like published your first book then?
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's see. I started ghostwriting in 2015. My first book was published in 2019, and I ghost wrote until 2022.
Wow.
So yeah, there was a good amount of overlap in there. And of course, my first book was published in 2019, but I wrote it in 20. So you know what I mean?
Yes,
like there's a lot of overlap in there. How did I go from one to the other? Gosh, just like sheer hope and grit, I guess. I just was trying so hard to get published. I did a bunch of romance conferences. They don't really happen as much anymore as they used to before the pandemic, but yeah, I would go and I would have my manuscript and I would pitch to agents and to editors that would come there looking for talent, and I would take writing workshops and talk to other authors and stuff like that, but just a lot of trying, I would say, like years and years of trying while holding down the full-time job of being a ghostwriter.
What is a writing conference?
It's like specifically for aspiring writers. And they'd have, like Kristin Hanna is headlining, and then you'd pay for access to the whole 3 days, and you'd get to go see her, and then you'd get to like have a tea with her afterward. Wow. If you paid a lot of money, which I was never able to do. So I would, stand outside and look through the window at the people having tea with Kristin Hanna. But yeah, it's mostly just a way of like socializing, meeting other people, because it's such a collaborative writing process too. You are always, most romance writers I know are doing it in groups and sending their work partial drafts to their friends and all this. So it was just kind of a way to meet each other and understand that it's real. Well, this thing we all love is real, and look, we're all doing it at the same time.
Is that still the case now? Like that authors are kind of like, because I had no idea they like sent around their work like that.
Well,
I know they do like the blurbs, and I know there's like author friendships and everything like that, but
most authors that I'm friends with will not hesitate to be like, hey, what's wrong with this paragraph?
Okay.
Please rewrite it for me. And of course you don't rewrite it for them, but you do read it and you're like, either you're like, well, obviously nothing, or you're like, well, you switch to past tense. Like, just don't do that part, and then you're fine.
I just had a massive flashback to like writing in like English class of like, because I was so, I like to write, but I was so guilty of like always switching the tenses. Totally. Sure.
Yeah, or just little things that that it isn't quite right, or on the other side of things, you're like, I'm so excited about this, and I can't wait until
you just want the world reads it.
So you have to read it first.
Wow. Now you mentioned Kristin Hanna. Is she an author that you like to read?
Yeah. Absolutely. She was really like formative for me because she literally did headline one of the conferences that I went to. And I just looked up to her so much. She was so cool. She was so really kind. She had time for everybody. I mean, she didn't, but she did. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. I have a real soft spot. And she you know, she skirts that women's fiction romance line too, which is always really interesting place to be. And she was doing it before it kind of became cool to do it. So yeah, I admire her.
She's an angel to my mom, because my mom, I think Kristin Hannah is probably her favorite author of all time.
It makes sense.
So
yes,
that's awesome. Looking back to like ghostwriting and writing your first book, like what have you learned?
One of the reasons I'm really grateful to have been a ghostwriter first was that because none of it was ever traceable back to me, I felt a lot of freedom, and I learned how to do this skill, which is basically like, imagine there's a dark black hallway in front of you. You can't see 2 feet into it, and you just sprint as fast as you can down the hallway. That's what ghostwriting taught me how to do. And I think that because of that, writer's block has, thank goodness, never really been an issue for me, because I'm not scared of the dark black hallway, because I can generate, and that's what I had to do as a ghostwriter. Editing is much harder for me because I didn't have to do a lot of editing or any really as a ghostwriter.
As a ghostwriter, how does ghostwriting work? Like, are you given like the plot or the characters or tropes or anything, or are you just like, I guess, running into that dark hallway, or like what are you given?
Well, I can tell you how it worked for me.
Yeah.
It is a secretive business, so it was hard to find the other ghostwriters.
Yeah.
So I literally came to it from a gig website. I typed in how to make money using your creative writing degree. And while I was a receptionist and hating life, I had just cleaned up like this tureen of spilled stale coffee and was like, I need to like live, right? I need to find the thing that I was put here to do. And so I put that into Google sitting at my receptionist desk, and it brought me immediately to, I think it was Thumbtack. It's just like it's a website. You can literally like hire someone to take photos of your dog on that website.
Okay, noted.
If
cool.
you need to hire someone to do anything, you can do
Yeah.
it through that website. And there were ghostwriting opportunities on that. And that's where I started. I responded to some ads, and within 3 days I had, I think, 2 or 3 opportunities for peanuts, like no money. I wrote my first 2 books, which were both 60,000 words a piece. I wrote one of them for $150 and the second one for $200.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this is amazing. I'm getting paid to live my dream. And it really was amazing. You know, it didn't have to put food on the table at the time. It just had to show me how to do it. And that's really what it did. And so then my clients, some of whom eventually became people you might know, but for the most part, it was like people who sell things on the internet were my clients. Like I would go to the Amazon page of one of the people who had hired me, and he also was selling like ladders on his Amazon page. He just was like, what are the things that sell? This and that, you know.
Interesting.
And they would give me ideas. It was always about what was trending, and this was, 2015 to 2020. So it was very very billionaire, very 50 Shades of Grey, very shifter stuff.
Oh man, I remember that era
yeah,
so well.
It was a fun era. It was a very fun time.
I mean, I'm liking this like new like romantasy era, but I loved the shifter era.
Yes.
I'm blanking on like what series it was, but I read so many like ebooks and whatever. I was like, my mom does not need to know what I am reading.
Yes.
But the shifter era was awesome.
It really was. It was good stuff. And yeah, so they would give me like prompts, and I would at first I would be kind of heavily guided towards what they want, but then it became clear with actually all of my clients that they were hiring me to write the story, and I was able to do it without a lot of guidance. And then I was just writing the things I wanted to write.
And then you stopped ghostwriting in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
What caused the end of that?
I just didn't have to anymore. maybe it was 2021 now that I think about it. But yeah, I was able to move on from my ghostwriting clients, concentrate really on the books I was most I really have affection for everything I've ghostwritten, but the things that you then see through and put into the world, the whole process is much more tender. It's much more fulfilling. It's much scarier, of course, but it was feeding me, and it was what I'd always dreamed of, and I wanted to move toward it.
Now, is there anything you struggle with right now as an author?
Yeah. I mean, literally every single part.
I mean, because you went from like ghostwriting when no one knows who you are to then like putting your work out in the world.
You mean like as a public facing author?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Being a public facing author has really given me a perspective on books in general where, okay, so this is just a thought I'm having right now, and I'm sharing it with you.
Yeah.
Books give me the energy of any sort of handmade project. Obviously, the book itself is not handmade, but like, if you want a perfectly knit blanket, you can go to Target and get a machine knit blanket, and it's going to be beautiful, right? But the thing that a book does for you is you pick up something that someone actually knit, and you can see there might be holes, there might be inconsistent tension. My mom is a knitter, and she always calls those things her signature. There's a unique fingerprint quality to it that I'm very aware of as an author, that parts of me are going into this book that I don't intend to go into the book, or I didn't realize it, or I'm really excited about it. And like any handmade thing, when you're putting it out into the world, it's no longer yours then. You made it, but it's no longer yours, and whoever you give it to. It has to be, the only way to really do the project justice is to give it without any expectation of ever seeing it again or ever getting it back or anything like that. And you knit a blanket for somebody, one person is going to keep it pristine, hand it down to their grandchildren. The next person is going to use it to wipe up Diet Coke. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't control it, and you can't. This is a really extended metaphor. I'm just saying part of what I have learned about being a public-facing author is joy in the process of actually creating the thing and then setting it free, because there's no guarantee of joy if you're waiting for that feedback to come back to you. It just has to be, the part of it that I love is these little moments of writing it, moments when I get the cover in my email and oh wow, and then I open the box and there it is for the first time. Those are the only guaranteed joys in the process. And so I've learned to truly lean in on those.
Wow. That's so well said.
Oh, well, thank you.
And so true about the covers.
I know.
Aren't
they
are
gorgeous?
Stunning. Now, so you recently published Ready or Not and Promise Me Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any scenes from this book before you started writing or while you started writing where you were like, I need to write this scene, similar to your first published novel?
Definitely. Nothing that I'm writing has ever started at the beginning. There's always just like a scene that comes out of nowhere. And again, it's that snow globe thing. Like, it comes completely intact. There's a moment, and I can see the entire dynamic going all the way into the foreground and all the way into the, what's the other word? Background? Foreground and background?
I think so.
Yeah. I can see it projecting out from both sides just based on one moment. For Promise Me Sunshine, can I say like a spoiler?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
We'll put a spoiler warning.
I'm going
now.
to do a very small spoiler.
And if you want to skip ahead, go like 30 seconds or something,
okay.
You'll be good.
They're camping, and the first line that I wrote in this book came into my head, where she's like so excited about life, and she says, "Let's be oil paintings, you beautiful bitch." I was like, who would say that? That's absurd. But it made me laugh. And then because I was thinking who would say that, then there was Lenny, and then it was like, well, who would she say it to? And then there was very clearly Miles, and I understood what their energy, what their vibe together would be just based on that one interaction.
Wow.
And it kind of, projected out both sides.
So then once you have this like moment, this scene, this like feeling, then do you start at chapter 1 and write chronologically, or are you a little bit more all over the place?
Oh, I'm so all over the place. It drives my editor nuts. It's not, I can tell if a scene is where they are in their comfortability and familiarity and the status of their romance. I know if something is so familiar, this little moment, it can't possibly come at the beginning because that would be disingenuous. So I have this general idea, but I would say for the first at least 50% of a book, I'm writing anywhere that my mind is drawing me, and then I stitch it all together.
Do you think that's maybe another like reason as to why you don't struggle with writer's block? Because like you're jumping all over the place?
Yeah, totally. I jump all over the place. I really don't care about if that ended up not working. It's gone. Usually I call it my graveyard document is about as long as the book by
of like
the end.
Things that just weren't working.
Yeah, I'm like, this is dragging me down. This is not right. Sometimes I'll go back every once in a while. Something gets a second life. I'd like copy and paste it back over.
Yeah.
But really not usually. Also, I don't worry about plot at all, which is why there is no plot in any of my books.
I think there's a plot. I mean, they're very character feeling driven.
Yeah.
But you don't feel a plot?
No, I live in fear of readers discovering that the entire plot is they do errands together. Of every book I've ever written, they just do errands together. Just like, that's why I'm a romance writer.
Now I'm going back in my head of when I was reading. I mean, I am more of a character person. I do often care for the plot, but even when I'm remembering the book, I'm remembering moments of the character and not like what the scene looked like.
Yeah.
So I think if the time ever comes where I'm writing a book, I'm probably going to do the same thing, and I will be calling you for some help.
Yeah, right. I really would like to figure out how to be better with plot, but so much of writing is just whatever your specific process is, and just you hit the nail on the head. My flow comes from not kind of caring what's going on. It's just what is happening between these two people. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really lend itself to plot. So, yeah. But I don't know. I'll crack the code someday.
Yeah. Promise Me Sunshine really like dives deep into the world of grief. Did you pull anything from your life or like research into this book? Because while I haven't been someone who has dealt with the grief, especially that like what Lenny experiences, it was very well written and felt very real.
Definitely from my own life. The way that this book started. So when I was that scene that plopped into my head, that line, it was right on the heels of, I'm a journaler. I journal everything. But there was always this one journal on the shelf that I would never go back and look at. And it was because it was from a really hard time in my life after I had lost someone. But a while had passed. I finally looked back through it, and I was really humbled at what I saw there, because when I was writing, it was mostly poems, but when I was writing it, I remember I was in deep grief, and I remember thinking, who am I? I don't feel like myself at all. But when I went back and looked through it, I was like, oh, there you are. Like you were you still, even through all of that. It became very clear that grief was like this overcoat I was wearing. It hadn't changed who I was on the inside, really. And I was intrigued by the idea of someone being able to see through that overcoat to the person who's inside. And it struck me that if someone can love you at that moment when you're at an absolute mess, and see you for who you actually are, I mean, it's just such a safety sort of love. Mm-hmm. You are cared for by that person. And I moved forward from that place.
Yeah. What was the process like then of writing? Like, was it therapeutic for you? Was it emotional? Like, was it a tough book to write because you were opening up this jar of feelings that was tucked in this journal that you hadn't then looked at?
Totally. It was both the easiest and hardest book I've ever written. The parts that were hard came in the second draft, because in the first draft, believe it or not, Lou was not in it at all. She was mentioned by name only. Okay. And my editor was like, like, wait, this book is about this person, so she should probably be in it. And I realized that when on my first draft, I just hadn't even been able to engage with the idea of bringing a person in like that. And of course that had to do with my own grief. But I did. And then editing this book was really, really difficult because dealing with, because grief doesn't make sense. So you have to make a book about it, you have to make it make sense. And I just kept coming up against that over and over. Does what she's going through make sense? Does it matter if it makes sense? Can this follow that sort of thing? So that was extremely difficult, and I really had to go back in my own emotional memory to figure out. I figured if it was true to me, then it would have a truth in it that either people who had been through it and didn't resonate with them, or people who hadn't been through it, anyone could find. Well, I trusted that people would read the truth that was in it, and so I did have to excavate that out.
How did you craft this like beautiful New York scene, while also like having that grief so like woven into there beautifully?
Well, I think New York is the greatest city in the world to grieve. Okay. Personally, I had this experience actually where I lived in Buenos Aires for a while, and I was grieving someone, and I realized that I was really homesick for New York, because in New York you can publicly weep and like literally and no one notices or cares. Yeah. Every once in a while you'll get like a granny who's like, pulls you up and gives you, buys you coffee and sends you on your way, like that sort of thing. Like there are these wonderful New Yorkie moments, but you can really just kind of be your worst self in New York, and that sounds like a weird picture to paint of New York, but you don't have to be polite in New York. No. New Yorkers are very kind. They're not very polite for the most part, and it's
a great way to say it.
Yeah, there's a freedom in that, especially when you're not in your best moment.
For Ready or Not, this has the pregnancy trope, which can be a very polarizing trope, and yet so many readers love this one. What about the trope made you want to write a book about it?
Oh, man. Well, I did not know how hated the trope was when I wrote the book, and thank goodness, because it probably wouldn't have gotten written. But again, I wrote it from a very real, I was trying to capture something true. Her story is not my story, just like Lenny's story is not my story.
Right,
but it was really important to me to get this, I don't know, like the right color in there that was true to the same color that I had been living when I was pregnant. I started it pregnant with my first on his due date. And I was like, okay, so he's going to be here any minute. But I have this idea for a book, and I couldn't sleep. So maybe I should just get a little bit down. And so
this is the day he was supposed to be due.
Yeah.
And you are like, I'm going to start writing a book.
Yeah. Well, I just was like, I'm going to lose it if I don't get these things down. So it was like 4 a.m. I wrote until like 7 a.m. and then was able to go to sleep again. The next night it happened. The next night he was 2 weeks late. So I actually got like a lot of the book written during that time. And then I, of course, didn't write anything more because I had a baby. And then right when I got pregnant with my second, I was like, okay, I knew like right away. So I was like, okay, I think I have like 6 weeks before I'm sick as a dog. So I better finish that book about pregnancy right now. So I started it pregnant with my first, finished it pregnant with my second. So I was pregnant the entire time I wrote the book, which I do think it lends kind of a reality in there to it. But I understand why it's a hated trope. I think unexpected pregnancy is most women's worst nightmare. So it's like, this is not escapism. This is a horror novel.
Yeah.
But, I tried to put a levity in there, infuse it with hope, and make it not so much a body autonomy, body horror genre, and much more about what can be.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Now, when we mentioned this at the beginning, who designs the covers?
Oh my God.
Because they are They are stunning.
They
are to this world.
Amazing. Her name is Sonia Pulido. She's an artist. She does not a lot of book covers, but she does do some. And I did not know what I wanted for Ready or Not was the book that came out first. I did not know what I wanted for it. The only word I could really come up with was painterly.
Okay.
And there we go.
Hit it on the spot.
We got there. I really like almost ruined it with input.
Okay. Are you a creative, like artistic person when it comes to like visual elements like that? Okay.
Yeah, but like to my detriment and fault. And so
I see.
Eventually the head of my press was like, "You're a wonderful writer. Now we're going to design the book cover."
Okay.
And I was like, "Well, thank you." Afterward, she was right, and this is what they came up with. Yeah.
Stunning. Stunning. We're gonna go back to Promise Me Sunshine because this is a book that's so like near and dear to my heart. At the end of the book, there's like a live again list. So we have like a little bit of a live again list segment where I have like spun it to like ask you a question on like what you would do in that situation and like what would you do on the list.
Okay, great.
Okay. Number 1, what is a fashion trend you'll probably never jump on board with?
Oh man. Okay, well, I am under 5 feet tall, so pants of all kinds are extremely difficult for me.
Fair. Yeah.
And I would have said wide leg pants, but I'm wearing wide leg pants right now.
Well, they're coming back.
So
yeah.
Oh, wait. Never. Maybe berets. Will berets ever be a thing? I don't know. Tiny hat, curly hair.
True. And
tiny hat, curly hair is hard. Yeah.
Okay, number 2, what is the coolest place you've ever been to?
Well, Buenos Aires has my heart. But in terms of like sheer shock value, I would say in Ireland there's a place called Giant's Causeway where, because of the type of rock it's right on the beach, and because of the type of rock it is, they form hexagonal pillars.
Oh, epic. Okay.
Yeah, so and it's stairs. It's like natural stairs that are hexagonal. They're like kitchen tile size. It's amazing. You should Google it after.
Can we pull up a photo so I can see?
It's really.
I've always wanted to go to
Giant's Causeway.
Oh, this is epic.
Yeah, like.
Oh, I see.
And some of them are really tall. Like some of them are 20 feet tall.
Okay.
And you can
Ireland
jump from one to one.
See,
like it's unbelievable.
Epic. Okay, amazing. Ireland added to my bucket list, or added up higher on my travel bucket list. Number 3 is, do you have a brother or a sibling, and what's their favorite movie?
I'm the youngest of 5.
Whoa.
3 of them are brothers.
Okay.
I wonder what my brother's favorite movie is. Any of them. One of them really likes the Chevy Chase Christmas movie.
Oh, yeah. A classic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Great. 4, what is something like a hobby you're really good at?
Okay, so knitting. I actually am very good at knitting. I do like sweaters of various sizes for various sized people.
Number 5, what's your favorite food?
Oh gosh, this is
other than I guess oranges, bananas, and apples.
I love an artichoke. I love a steamed artichoke with like butter and lemon to dip it in.
We'll take it. 6, what's a song you'll always dance to?
Cher. Anything Cher.
Good. Okay. And 7, who's your favorite dance partner?
Oh, well, my kids, for sure.
8, what was the last home project that you did? Like a painting, new furniture?
Oh, I painted flowers on our wall.
Oh my God, cool.
But they only go up to a certain height because even on the chair I couldn't reach.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's okay. Number 9, how many emails do you have unopened in your email inbox right now?
Oh my God, that is a terrible question to ask someone. If I had my phone, I think it's like between 19 and 20,000.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say like 19 and 20. I was like, that's not bad.
No, it's
whoa.
Yeah, it's very bad. None of which are like people. You know what I mean? There's no one
it's
hanging,
like when you go to the store and they're like, what's your email? And then you never unsubscribe.
Yes. Well, because when you unsubscribe, it doesn't work, right? Like somehow you're on their alternate list then or whatever.
Google added that like unsubscribe feature, which is great, but only sometimes it takes.
Does it work?
I'd say it's 50-50. I don't know.
No, it makes me feel better, but then I'm like, I still have 19.
I know, I still get it.
Unopened emails.
90,000 is wild. Okay, last one. Who do you call when you need to talk to someone?
Oh, Well, if I'm ever out of the house, my husband, first of all, but in every other circumstance, my mom or my dad, I really miss landlines because I used to just call like their kitchen table.
Yeah.
And then whichever one was in the kitchen would answer, and then I would get, but now I have to kind of choose one or the other. It's
landlines
weird.
are like making a comeback. I don't know if you've seen this in like the Gen Z space.
Really?
People are like making dumb phones. They want landlines back so they're not attached to their phone.
Absolutely. And
I'm on board with it.
landlines, there's a charm there. There's something about just chatting when you can't see the person too that is really, it's a skill. I love this.
I miss
I
would used to call my Nana and she would like have the cord and she'd be like, oh, like I gotta put you down, like the cord isn't long enough. And I'm like, damn, I kind of miss that sometimes. Okay, we're gonna talk about you being an Audible's original writer.
Yes.
Because that's awesome.
Yes.
And I've only recently like come to learn what that is, and it's so, so cool. Can you talk to us like what that means? Like, what do you do?
So it's in a lot of ways very similar to being an author. But in many ways it's not. It's they're much more like audio plays, what I write. I'm writing specifically for audio. So I'm writing with my sound design team in mind, and then I write the sound design into the story. So I'll often, it looks like a script, and often it can't really be translated to the page because what is happening is dependent also on the sound design that we're hearing. It's not just like atmospheric. It's an immersive story. It's really different muscle in my brain. It's a really different part of my brain that I write from, and it's really fun. It's a playground. It's totally different. And
so are you then? You're starting with a script, you're starting with the dialogue they're going to say.
Yeah.
And then do you go in and like add the...
I do some of both. Sometimes
okay.
it comes right as I'm like in scene. And then sometimes I'll go back through and I'll think, why isn't this scene working? Oh, I think we need an audio element. And sometimes I'll just be like, this is too long without an audio element. So then when the next one comes in, it's going to be startling. So we need to like thread some through here, that sort of thing.
Is there any difference you find in writing the dialogue in a physical book versus an audiobook?
Yeah, totally. Well, I would say, first of all, these audio plays are 40 to 50,000 words of dialogue only. So that is my superpower. Dialogue has become my superpower. It is really hard to find that much to talk about. And those books do have much more plot in them because they have to do things, But, so for instance, in one of them, maybe this time, is the title of it, they go on a roller coaster at Coney Island. And if it were a book, I would give narrative of what it felt like to be on the roller coaster. I'd give some description there. In the audio play, I write the sound design of what I want it to sound like and what I want their exclamations to be. And so it's the same thing that the consumer of that moment understands a lot about that moment. Wow. They understand what it sounds like, what it feels like, what the characters are emoting, but it's just a different format.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Do you know ahead of time if it's going to be like full cast narration, dual narration, or single narration? How does that impact then your writing?
It impacts it a lot. So when it's going to be, if it's going to be multicast, then I start out there because it would be really difficult to go back. But so for instance, I just wrote one that I have no idea what we're going to do with it. There's narrative and dialogue, which is a little bit new for me. And I'm just going to sit at the table with my sound design team and say, well, what do we think? Let's go. And they're geniuses. They speak a different language. They understand this like aural world that I pretend to understand. I basically like bring ingredients to them and then they make the meal with it.
How did you get into doing it? Because I know we have ghostwriting, we have actual like published novel writing, and then we have Audible original writing.
It all came together because of all of those things too. So when that first book that we were talking about, I had an editor at Harlequin, and we just got along so well, and we worked really, really well together. And right before the book came out, she left her job at Harlequin and was hired on at Audible as
Gotcha. Okay.
the head romance editor. And I was so happy for her. Yay, go live your life. This is beautiful. And then like 2 months later, she called me and was like, you want to come write for us? Because we have this idea of, this was before Audible Originals started.
Okay.
We have this idea of writing specifically for Audible, specifically for audio. I know you were a ghostwriter. What if I pitched some things to you? Do you think you could come up with something? And I was like, yes.
Wow.
Yes, I can. And
So
that's where we started.
Are they like, what exactly then are they pitching you on? Like tropes, genre?
No, she said the word love at first talk. And then I came up with my first 3 that was the premise of the first 3.
Do you ever write with like specific, because I know I love to listen to an audiobook and I love certain narrators. Do you ever write with like a narrator in mind? Do you guys have that ever solidified beforehand or?
No, it's always after. The one time I tried to do that, actually, no, I've tried to do that twice and both ended terribly.
Okay.
It just was like not, there's in order to write from a character, I kind of have to make them be mine. But if it's a real person with their own brain and autonomy, I feel weird about trying to make them
Fair
mine.
point.
So I'm like, no, it just never worked. It was wooden and faulty parts. It didn't work for me.
Do you ever have a say in the narrators who do it?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
I help with casting. They know everyone. So again, my sound design team, the director, she knows literally everyone in the world by name and phone number. And she always has, a long list of 50 people. And then we go through, and then any suggestions I might have, she always is, wants to hear those as well, but they make it really easy.
Is it like a casting call? Like, do they do a audio self-tape for it, or are you listening to like past work they've done to see like what fits and who has chemistry together?
Usually the first round is I'm mining past projects, and a lot of the people we cast are actors, so I watch movies and stuff like that. And then once we get it down to maybe 3 people, and then our people are talking to their people to figure out if they have interest or if they have time or if they could fit. If they are interested, then sometimes we will hear them do part of it, that sort of thing.
Would you ever narrate?
No.
Really?
Oh, no.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah. I don't think of myself as a performer. I also hear this must happen to you all the time, but do you ever go back and listen to a podcast and you're like, that's what I sound like?
Yeah, I don't often listen to myself.
Right.
Because it's just, I don't know. I've definitely gotten better at it lately, but it's just something about hearing your own voice. You're just like,
right.
You don't want to.
You're not supposed to. It's almost like how human beings are like not evolved to be able to look at photos of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we're not capable of that. You're supposed to only hear your voice in your own head.
Exactly. Or when I have to when I see how other people see me, when I have to mirror my camera, I'm like, oh my God, no.
It's cruel.
It's not fun at all. Do you have like a favorite Audible original that you've listened to?
Lily Chu.
Lily Chu. She did Rich Girl Summer?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She's so good. And she's always with, or I think always with Philippa Sue.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I think Rich Girl Summer was
that's
Philippa Sue, and her husband was the other.
Wait, I didn't know. Whoa.
Her actual husband.
Her actual husband,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Wait, that's awesome.
Which is part of why the chemistry is off the charts in that one.
Yeah, that tracks. That makes sense.
I love that one. One that's not an Audible original, but just an audio that knocked my socks off was How to Start a War by Michael Trampani. And he plays every character and does every accent He does the whole thing. He
incredible.
acts the entire thing, and he wrote the entire thing.
Wow.
It's unbelievably good.
Now, have you ever listened to Project Hail Mary?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Well, you're the first person I've asked who's actually read it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Audible suggested it to me. I basically listened to it because I was like, well, I need to do this so it will stop suggesting. And then I was like, oh, well, it knew what it was talking about.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite. Again, I've like done an episode where I talked about all my favorite audiobooks, which was, I mean, I could list them all day long because I love an audiobook, but that probably takes the cake for like, and I'm not a sci-fi reader.
Yeah.
I don't, it's confusing, but listening to it in audio format, I was like, game changer.
I think it's really interesting the different genres you can do, like page versus e-reader versus audio. I really there's not a lot of overlap for me, which I do one and, you know, I guess romance I do across the board.
Yes, for sure. Now, do you have a favorite Audible original that you have written?
Favorite that I've written.
I know it's like choosing a favorite child, but some of them stand out.
Well, the one I have coming out in May, titled All the Time in the World, I loved writing because they are trapped on an island together. So that's just so freaking fun. I'll always love Maybe This Time, which is the one I just explained about the roller coaster, because it is, one of them is super into poetry and the other is super into sports. And my husband is super into both of those things. So he was like my research partner for all of it. He and I spent like so much time talking about how to make the dialogue in this book work. And so I have a huge soft spot for it.
Wow, that's so cool. Now, where do you think like the future of romance audiobooks is going? Because we're doing so many like Audible Originals. There's so many other mediums that you can listen to books in.
Well, I'll tell you what I hope, where I hope it goes. I really hope that historicals can find a home with audio because, you know, mass market is dying. Historicals are going extinct, and they're the original romance novel. They're how so many of us fell in love with the genre. And I don't want to picture a world where you can walk into a romance bookstore and they aren't selling historicals. Like, oh my God. But if it all comes down to the cost of paper, if it all comes down to mass markets for whatever reason, I really hope that they can find a home and I mean, come on, like romance historicals, you get the like these Regency accents and the opulence of it all. You get the string quartets at the beginning. Like they're such an experience.
Yeah.
So that's my dream.
Well, there's Bridgerton, and I'm like, give us another Bridgerton. Like I used to love like the time travel Regency Highlander romance books. I mean, I haven't read one in a hot minute because again, they don't come across my radar. They aren't talked about as much, but I also hope that's where the future is going because I used to love those.
Someone knows why those are not on our shelves anymore.
Someone's behind
I don't know
Yeah.
the reason, but I wish they were because I would buy them.
Okay, we bring them back. Can you talk about what you're writing next?
Sure. I can answer that question in a couple different ways. One, I have a book coming out in March 3rd. It's called No Matter What. It is a second chance, husband and wife almost divorce, but they don't. It's a romance. It is about shared experience. It's about PTSD. And I love this book so much because it's about falling in love again. And it's about like many layers and textures of love as you get to know someone even better in your 10th or 15th year of knowing them potentially. And I always shoot to write stories that could happen to you in real life, which I think is why there's not a lot of plot in them as well. Cause most of us do errands with our boyfriends, right? Like that's our romantic story.
Yeah. Like
you know?
if a camera was ever following me around, I'm like, okay, she reads.
Yep.
Watch TV. She goes for a walk with her dogs. Like, cool. There's no plot.
Exactly. But I really I want people to come to my books and be able to see parts of their lives reflected back at them through this kaleidoscope of writing that makes them feel like that part of their life is beautiful. And I really wanted to do that for people who are married and have been married for a long time. Because so much of reading romance is about that falling in love feeling. And I wanted it to this story to be about falling in love again.
Now, I think you somewhat already answered this, but like, what do you hope readers take away from this book?
Well, a bit of what you were talking about with Promise Me Sunshine, seeing someone grapple with the same things that you are grappling with is always my goal in writing. I want my characters to feel like friends. I want it. There is this relationship between writer and reader that it's on a delay, but I want these books to feel like a conversation. And I'm never going to write. I promise, I'm never going to write. I might write ineffective communication, but I never want to pass off bad communication as romantic.
Okay.
So I'm always pushing my characters to ask the things they're curious about, to push into harder conversations, to get to the bottom of issues. I want, because I was a really young reader when I first came to romance, and that's one of the things that the genre modeled for me was how to have a romantic relationship, and one that is safe for a woman to be in. And I really, I take that lineage very seriously. And if ever there is any single one young reader who comes to it and says, because I read your book, I was able to forge a relationship with this person or solve a problem with this person, romantic or otherwise, I mean, I would feel like my work here was done.
That's such a good way to put it. That's such a good way to also end this episode. Thank you so much for making the journey to Toronto and coming to chat with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been beautiful.
Of course. This episode was brought to you by Audible. Whether you're into banter or battle scenes, soulmates or second chances, Audible is where every kind of love story lives and thrives. So open your ears, follow your heart, and press play on a romance that is just right for you with Audible. Try a free 30-day trial at audible.com. Thanks for listening to Off the Shelf, and we will see you next Thursday.